This is the Dos a Cero podcast, a weekly show devoted to football in Mexico, the U.S., and beyond. If you are a Pocho, Puma, Regio, Chiva, Cholo, Fresa, Tigre, Tapatío, Chilango, or even a Methodist, pull up a chair, crack open a cold one, and enjoy the next 90 minutes of heated football debate. Thus begins the Dos a Cero podcast. Good evening, everybody. This is the Dos a Cero podcast, the newly rebranded Dos a Cero podcast. With you, guys, as always, this is John Jagu and our usual band of suspects we have out in Connecticut. Christian Velez, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Not too bad over here.
Over in Stockton, California. I know, it's Escondido. We have Daniel Preciado. How are you, sir?
Very good. Good evening, everyone.
Over in the other end of Travis County here in Central Texas, Alberto El Chiquiscampa. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's up? Good evening. Nice intro.
Thank you. Out in Arizona, the freshly refreshed Fernando Regio. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Good evening. Good evening. Saludos desde Arizona.
Good to have you with us. Out in now, I'm not sure. Is it Pacific Palisades, Beverly Hills, or Westwood, where you live, Joel, out in California?
South LA.
Oh, South LA. Okay, all right. Some reason I thought you were in Brentwood.
Or South Central.
I am in South Central.
Oh, South Central. Oh,
It got renamed. It got renamed though.
Yeah, they renamed it to South LA.
Joel, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, although I'm missing the game.
But you never watch, so you're not missing anything.
I know. Well, I'm trying to watch it, but I don't have the channel.
Oh, well, I'll let you know what's happened. They just scored. And out in Philadelphia, the man from Big Soccer Tepec, or is it Big Soccer Cocobulco? I forget which one. Ronnie De Luna, how are you, sir?
Big Soccer Titlan.
Big Soccer Titlan, not Big Soccer Tepec.
No.
All right. Fair enough. How are you, sir?
No, I'm doing good. Just was watching a little bit of the Serie del Caribe. You know, those Venados of Mexico are, doing pretty well. They've won 3 of their games. I know it's baseball, but, got to give it up to those Venados.
I think the Serie del Caribe is a great tournament. I don't understand why the U.S. World Series winner doesn't play in it. They should. It should be like a mini Champions League. I think it'd be great for baseball if they did that. But that's a topic for another day. Well, we decided to rebrand ourselves the Dos a Cero podcast for those of you who are listening on our YouTube channel. And please feel free to make your comments or ask any questions, and we'll be sure to answer those throughout the course of these next 90 minutes. But one of the reasons that we changed the name is like good Mexicans, we take our most humiliating moments, can kind of get out in front of it, and then use it to eventually make us stronger, better, blah 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 blah. Kind of like with the way that Team Guadalajara, after they lost, they said, this team doesn't work. All they do is might as well just go to the field and eat grass like goats. Hence, they're now the Chivas. And of course, the other team in Mexico City, after they had thrown a game, they call them Las Águilas Vendidas Vergonzosas. Now they're just Las Águilas del América. So that's one of the reasons why we are the Dos a Cero podcast, is that we will take one of our more humiliating moments and turn it into a positive. Hence the rebrand. Anybody have anything to add? Excuse me. Anybody have anything to add to that?
It's better Deuce a Cero. We're dropping a deuce.
Well, some of us more than others, but okay.
Some of us literally, yeah.
Not figuratively.
We prefer figuratively.
Oh, definitely.
But
Okay.
I'll just let the viewers actually just look at the expressions on our faces and guess who was the one that went.
It's not in my house, right? It will definitely in your house. You can smell it.
Yeah, these
Okay,
computers are
moving
getting fancier and fancier.
Moving on.
Go
We
ahead,
do
sorry.
have a variety of topics tonight, a couple of things we want to cover. Among them, we'll be talking about Copa America. The draw's coming up in a few weeks, and the preliminary ticket prices have been announced. Good luck, and let's us make like $500,000 to $1 million a year. It's being able to afford those. It looks like it's very possible that Fox Sports here in the U.S. might be getting rights to FMF games, kind of like ESPN did a little while ago. We'll also be talking about Dorados and the fact that out of their next 13 games have to win 10 of them in order for them to stay up top, and how not to play your first year once you've made the jump. We'll briefly go over the league. We'll talk about Felipe Baloy and his snub. As far as snubs, we'll also talk about Chivas and the club snubbing the Mexican national team for their Molero in Miami against Senegal. And time permitting, we'll talk about Pachuca and their supposed favorable treatment that they get, according to some people on this podcast, in regard to disciplinary actions, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But first of all, again, I want to thank you all for joining us. Again, if you have any questions or comments on our YouTube channel, please feel free to let us know what they are, and we will try to get to those. Now, Copa America is coming to this country. It's going to be played in about 10 cities across the U.S. They've just announced preliminary ticket prices for the host cities, and it's not cheap. I've seen anywhere from $75 as the cheapest ticket in Houston to over $150 a ticket for the cheapest tickets up in Foxborough in Massachusetts. I mean, isn't it pretty obvious why CONMEBOL wanted to have the Copa America when we see these ticket prices? You can't charge these kinds of prices in Paraguay.
Yeah, it goes beyond. It's kind of without saying when you look at the fact that mostly the CONMEBOL's, like the federation, the heads of each federation down there, pretty much are in jail because of the money they took, the bribes they took to get this tournament going, get it off the ground. Not to mention Eduardo Lee from Costa Rica. As great as the tournament is going to be, because it's going to be a fun tournament, it's going to be hard to sort of shake that stench, because we all know this tournament is being held here because of the gate receipts. That's just kind of what it is, but at least we get something in our backyard here.
No, it's true. I think they're very steep prices. People are going to treat it as a social event, if you will. I still think that it should have been that Mexico should have gone the first dibs, but obviously money talks, So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it should have been held in Mexico, actually. Yeah, definitely. But oh well, that's we'll see if anybody. Yeah, I wonder if we're gonna have like a supporters group here for people that paid that massive amounts of money.
You know what? I'm surprised people are willing to pay that much, and you have to wonder if that's gonna become the case later on for Gold Cup and just regular club games.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, if I had the money, I would pay for it. Honestly, for all the Mexico
People will
games.
pay for sure. They're going to pay. Pancho
Mexico's playing in Phoenix, Fernando. You can get a press pass. You don't have to pay for that.
I know, but my family wants to go, and I still gotta get them tickets too. So I gotta think about that.
They'll put a mortgage on their house. They'll do whatever it needs to be.
That's right. You're going to sell a kidney.
Don't worry about it. Soccer Chronicle will take care of you, okay, Fernando?
Hey, remember that video that came out on Twitter? That even I think it was Jonathan Dos Santos retweeted, where that guy saw that he got tickets for the Mexico USA match in the Rose Bowl and just started to cry. That's how I'm gonna be. I'm gonna do
Seriously?
that.
I don't think
Yeah.
they will charge that much for the Gold Cup, unless maybe they're Mexico games or U.S. games, because I mean they'll pay it. The Mexicans, they'll pay it.
So you think the prices are based on who's playing that day?
Obviously you're gonna have Neymar, you're gonna have Suarez, you're gonna have Messi. So people are trying. They're gonna bank on that. They're gonna bank on Chicharito.
Oh,
But
yeah.
for the Gold Cup, really the only main attraction is really Mexico. If you think
But
about it,
you
and
know
obviously
what?
the U.S.
Prices are already higher than what used to be. Like,
Oh, of course.
so it might not be as much as for Copa America, but there could be like a price hike.
Now you bring up a good point. Is there going to be prices based on who's playing? Because we already know who the seeds are. We have the U.S., Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina, and they know where they're going to play their 3 group games. So it could be that they're going to have a price scale for that. And if Argentina, say, has Jamaica and Peru in their group, the Jamaica-Peru game is not going to be $165 at Foxborough. But you never know. The scary thing is that for folks that always complain about how could you allow FIFA to do this? They're ruining the sport, blah blah blah. The stadiums are going to be sold out, so they're supporting it by buying the tickets. So there's that. Anybody have other comments about the ticket prices for Copa America?
So none of these games are like double headers, like for the group
I don't
stage?
think so. I think that they're all in separate venues. But then again, I don't know. I haven't seen a.
So where is
Nice
Mexico
match
playing
schedule.
in the group stage?
They're playing in Phoenix, in Pasadena, and I want to say Houston. Imagine that.
That's awesome. I might have to fork over the cash to go.
Now, I did notice that there was a national team that played over the weekend, the U.S., at the Home Depot Center. Now, I know it was raining in Southern California, and you guys freak out when it rains out there. But, were there 5,000 people in the stands for that game? Did anybody watch it?
I haven't DVR'd.
Yeah, so do I. I've been meaning to
Yeah.
watch it.
You haven't watched it yet. Yeah, well, there weren't that many people in the stands. It was kind of sad.
Not
Okay.
for they played Iceland, right?
They did, and Iceland is going to be one of those teams to watch at the upcoming Euro. The first time they've ever qualified for any tournament at any level, which is going to be kind of fun. Of course, it helps that they went from 16 to 24 teams. But
I actually, speaking of Iceland, I actually applied for some of their the media tickets for the Euro 2016. So hopefully I'll be able to watch them in France come summer.
you and Bjork, you should invite Bjork. Tell her she can be a correspondent for Soccer Chronicle.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm a fan, so let's get her on.
absolutely. Moving on. Read a little blurb this week that just like ESPN did in the last World Cup cycle, it looks like Fox Sports, Big Fox here in the U.S., is very close to acquiring rights to the FMF games, which includes Mexico's national team games here in this country, World Cup qualifiers at home. And I'm not sure, but I'm curious if that's going to include Liga MX games like ESPN's deal was a few years ago. Now, of course, the big reason they're doing this is because by getting the FMF rights for Mexico's qualifiers at home, they get to broadcast the U.S.-Mexico World Cup qualifier in 2017. Now, my question to y'all is, Liga MX is far and away the most popular soccer league in this country. I don't think that anyone denies that. But we've talked about in the past how Liga MX doesn't market itself globally. They don't even have an English language version of their webpage. So I know that they did this with ESPN a couple years ago. But if it turns out that they do Liga MX games, how much, if any, do you think that would help Liga MX as far as its brand and image here in this country with non-Spanish speakers.
I think it'll help out a lot because obviously because of Fox Soccer World and everything. I don't know if they will, the people over there at the Fox, the Mexican Soccer Federation, if they're gonna have like English and French websites, versions of their website. They should. I mean, obviously they're the big dog in CONCACAF.
At the very least, an English version.
Exactly. So, but I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, eventually they'll get on board and they'll do it.
I think it's some great news because this last Mexico USA match that they had this October, Fox Soccer, believe it or not, started broadcasting some of the matches in some movie theaters, and I thought that was really cool. So if they are going to start doing that with the Mexico matches, trying to broadcast them at movie theaters, man, that's going to be some good times. I know it's a little self-serving, but it's good times.
That's actually a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
So, and these are just for the English rights?
Yeah, it looks like they're going to acquire the English language rights for the national team games, the Moleros they play here, and then their qualifiers. And I would assume that if FMF was smart, they'd say, well, you know what, you need to broadcast some Liga MX games.
Well, I wouldn't jump to that, though. I honestly think, though, you need to be really smart with who you put to call the games. It's good. That's the one thing I think that is lacking is someone who is eloquent and funny enough to and knows and is familiar with the Mexican game to actually entertain an American audience. Like someone who's smart enough to clue them in on the Mexican football nuance and like some of the.
Dan, I don't think it would matter as much. I mean,
I think it does because. I
don't think anyone here tuned out from La Torre de Jalisco, dude. And we put up with him for like 4 World Cups now.
Well, I think you're being overly harsh. I think at very least they put some emotion, and some people do. I personally am not. I don't have any issues with it. My issue is how boring some of the play-by-play can be. By some of the American announcers, and I know that to alleviate that, they put in a lot of British guys who are probably a little bit more used to calling the games. But I think that's one thing that if they're going to start covering the Mexican game, I just would want them to be clued in, not it be.
So you want them
cheesy.
To hire guys that know.
Like us, essentially. I'm basically raising my hand.
Well, I work for Fox occasionally. So give me your resume, and we'll.
ESPN.
That makes it easy. We'll get it going.
There's one thing that we have to touch upon is the fact that Fox bought the English rights, not from the FMF, not from anybody in Mexico, but from Univision. So I'm not entirely sure how much the Mexican Federation had to do with this.
Well, they haven't bought them yet.
Well, They would be buying them from Univision, which is it makes sense.
Keep in mind, Televisa has a say too. With
redistribution,
with redistribution rights, but going back to the FMF, appearing more to English, fans, be it TV, be it internet. I think the Mexican Federation has to be, more proactive doing so because here's the thing: first generation immigrants eventually will stop, watching Mexican TV and will start watching more English TV. I mean, I don't think I'm the only one that I don't watch anything in Spanish other than really, soccer.
Come on, I know you watch Sábado Gigante.
No. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, I really.
I thought they canceled that already.
They did actually. Sadly.
I don't. I don't watch
novela.
I don't watch novela.
Ronnie stopped watching after Pedro el Escamoso got canceled.
Oh.
I know he enjoyed that.
Oh.
He got that dance thing going
No,
on.
but you guys get my point. It's just that eventually you're gonna lose a certain demographic because they're gonna be more Americanized and they're gonna want to watch more American TV or English TV. And I mean obviously what is it, NBC Telemundo, they've tried to capture that with what is it, Fusion.
Yeah, Fusion TV. Yeah.
Fusion TV and
Yeah.
and Mundo is trying to get the whole hybrid Pocho thing going on and stuff like that. But eventually they're gonna go full Pocho and start watching English TV
Change their podcast name.
To the
what's
full-
that?
You're saying they were gonna go full Pocho?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
The irony. All right.
Well, that is a very good point. I mean, FMF, if they haven't started to think globally, I think that this would be a very good time for them to start doing so, especially considering the news that came out of China this week with who was it that played the Chinese team at the Club World Cup? That's right. It was Club America.
Guangzhou
And-
Evergrande.
Yeah, and they just purchased Jackson Martinez for $45 million. So now they
Idiots.
I'm not saying that they're not that they're direct competitors, but we've been talking about for the past couple of podcasts how if Mexico does want to make that global move, they're gonna have to get acquire more players with more of a a global panache, a global Q factor, whatever.
But that's a fail right there, though. 45 million.
Dude, John, there comes a point where no one's gonna buy. China doesn't have a soccer culture, just like the Middle East. They don't have a soccer culture. So I mean, these guys, these billionaires, they can spend all their money. It's still not gonna fool anybody because they're plastic fans.
But they're paying the money, right?
They're plastic fans.
The money is coming from somewhere.
Exploding. The ratings are getting the TV rights went from 20 million to like 300 or 400 million just year over year.
You forget how many Chinese people are in China.
Maybe
You can argue that plastics probably spend more money.
Maybe in its national stages, no doubt. But my point is, they're not getting the the retirees that go to MLS and Qatar. I mean,
but I don't think they're looking to get the international market just within China alone.
Well, that's fine. But what I'm saying is now China is going to be competing for the level of player that Mexico can get and should get for Liga MX teams. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that.
I think that's true, but I think that this isn't exactly an example that the Mexican league should be following. Is paying $45 million for a guy that they actually paid probably a whole lot less for.
Well, yeah, they paid what 3 or 4 for him when he first came up.
So
Would
that's
they
my
love to
point.
sell
Like,
him for $45 million.
Yeah, well, that would have been.
Well, America's supposed to be like the LA Lakers, the team with the money in Mexico. But Gignac is the main dude, the main foreigner that Tigres bought. So they're beating Tigres. They're beating America to the punch.
And Tigres with the Gignac, I mean, Gignac has to be would y'all consider at this moment, like the poster child for Liga MX right now?
Yeah, he's the star of the league.
Yeah, there's no question.
For sure.
I know it should be Ruben Sambuesa, I know, but Gignac is a little better.
Well, just keep in mind that China's been investing a lot of money for the last 20 years in soccer, and one World Cup to show for, one World Cup appearance, which was actually in 2002 when you had South Korea and Japan who didn't participate in the qualifiers because they were the host nations. Like I said, they're throwing money. They're like the Middle Eastern countries. They're just spending outrageous amounts of money on players, but they're not doing really anything. I mean, they're just good for those guys. I mean, good for Batistuta. Good for for what's his name, Xavi. I mean, they're making the money. But I don't see them taking things, taking players away from the Mexican league.
Well, I don't
Well,
think they're taking players from the Mexican League, but they are raising their profile. And, if they're investing money, it's because they see money as a return that's coming back to them. And remember, they have a big country and I'm pretty sure they will make their money back. That's for sure.
All I'm saying is if let's say Club America has the chance to get Radamel, who I think could do very well at a Club America, to definitely get his mojo back, but maybe a Chinese team bids for him as well. I mean that's my point, is that there are going to be certain players that Mexico probably should get that may not, because now they're not going to lose in the MLS, but there is another market where this could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, but it is going to happen occasionally.
That sounds like they're doing us a favor.
I
Getting
agree.
rid of like the Roque Santa Cruzes,
Yep.
some of these petardos that we get.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think Jackson.
We need to send them a fruit
What about
basket or something.
Giovanni? America should have got Giovanni. They had a chance. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
really good player. Also
while they're
landed-
sorry to interrupt. While they're at it, they can take Darwin Quinteros. Okay.
Why? He's a really good player, man.
Yeah, they're missing the bus. I think America could have had some big signings, and they haven't. They just get like they get the petardos you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but that's not the way they operate, though. America doesn't really operate that way. At least not in the past couple of years. They don't go after, for whatever reason, they don't seem to be going after guys like. I know, a couple of years ago they made a push for Andres D'Alessandro, which would have been a tremendous player to have in Mexico. But either the money wasn't good enough, or he just didn't really have any interest in coming to Mexico. But it is interesting to see teams like Monterrey or even Tigres that are going after some of these European-based players, yet America seems content to just buy the players that are somewhat above average in the league. They bought Uribe, they brought Darwin Quintero, Ruben Sambuesa, which is, for better or for worse, they've all been, have had varying degrees of success.
Or even Omar Gonzalez. Omar Gonzalez, Pachuca got him.
Well,
And
you look.
They got that one dude, that one.
You got Pablo Goltz,
No, that
Pablo Aguilar. Really just sort of underwhelming players that don't really seem to be a step up in quality than what you would find in the league itself. And so it is a little bit strange in that sense, but it's okay, I guess, in the sense that if you got teams like Santos or Monterrey, Tigres, etc., that are going to go out and take these gambles with these European-based players, at least somebody else is doing it. But you would think America, with the kind of media spotlight that they have, and they do have the funds to do it. You think they would be more proactive in that sense?
I think America's done a combination of each, of going with players, be it foreign or national, that are that are tested in Liga MX, like you said, Uribe and Darwin and stuff like that. But even going after, for example, the youngster from the Euro 1 youngster Lozano, or which I think he's a very good player.
It's a good pickup,
He's a very good pickup, and I think there's a lot of potential there. And obviously, Pipa Benedetto, I think Pipa in a way is kind of like I think he's a great great addition to the team. In the past 10, 12 something years, foreign players that made an immediate impact upon arrival. 3 that come to mind are Piojo, so Bam Bam, Cabañas, and I think Pipa Benedetto. I think he can. I think he can become an icon at the club if he keeps doing what he's doing.
He's very young.
Yeah. So obviously, I have high hopes for him. I have high hopes for Lozano.
It's interesting. The players that they have gotten, they're not getting the big fish like they used to get, like the players you'd mentioned. It seems like they're getting players to hopefully, possibly, maybe in 2 or 3 years,
right?
Sell them for profit. It's kind of a paradigm change for Club America. We'll see how they do with some of these guys. In the next, if
it's a
someone
weird
makes an
thing,
offer
though,
they can't
because,
refuse.
like you said, if it's a 2 to 3 year project down the road, if there's one of the teams in Mexico that doesn't have the benefit of even planning 6 months down the road or 2 tournaments down the road, it's Club America. But it works for Pachuca because Pachuca is a team that, they're a
They
good
can win.
team,
Pachuca.
but they don't
Go-
have that sort of immediate pressure that Club America has, or even, for example, Chivas. You know, Chivas, if you look at their squad, they have a good squad, and I mean, they could project very well down the road in a year or a year and a half, like 2 to 3 tournaments. But they're not gonna be able to sort of put that to work because they have to heat the lamp on their head about, you know, with the relegation, but also because they're one of those national teams that are just constantly being talked about, and everything they do is scrutinized. And I think America is kind of the same, if not maybe a little bit bigger. So, I mean, these are obviously long-term plans with some of these players, but
Yeah, but America has the luxury of a much larger, more expansive player pool than Chivas has.
that is true.
Well, going back to what you were saying, Christian, about, you know, Pachuca not having that pressure, and you're right, because if you recall, you know, like 3 or 4, you know, championships the following year, they failed to qualify for the Liguilla. And I mean, and you know, right now, you know, some people want to paint, you know, America like they're in some major crisis, and I was like, and it's not. I mean, it's not. You know, obviously there's room for improvement, but I mean, Jesus, they've gone to three finals in the last, you know, 2-3 years, and aside from winning the CONCACAF Cup, and obviously they're already in the knockout stages of the CONCACAF Cup. So it's like it's not a crisis. But obviously, there's that expectation. And going back to, you know, what you were saying about Chivas, it's sad because, you know, 10 years ago, there was that level of pressure at Chivas, and I think that Vergara and, you know, the way he's treated the club, like, you know, like a wrestling gig, I think that those players don't have that pressure like they once used to. Cruz Azul has it still, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously,
La
you know.
Cruz Azuleo.
Hey, going back to what you said about America being successful in the last few years, they did it with Darwin Quintero. Just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, but he wasn't really a crucial piece.
You know, just to add to the players, I think America's been smart about the transfers. If you remember a few years back, at one point they had about 30 players on their payroll.
Yeah, just out on loan.
Yeah, and they had them scattered all over, even loaned out to other South American teams.
Was Fontic still on the payroll?
Carrondo's still on the payroll. Good lord.
Oh, that guy was terrible.
Okay, you know, let's actually that's a good spot for us to shift gears a little bit. Talk about a team that has recently been promoted into Liga MX and went about surviving in their first year, just in my opinion, completely the wrong way, and that's Dorados de Sinaloa out in Culiacan, a team that was promoted, disassembled, reassembled with a bunch of scrubs, and sent out to, you know, try and accumulate, you know, 40 points or so over the next 2 seasons and stay in the first division. It's not working out for them. They only have 15 points accumulated. They haven't won so far in the Clausura, which means that out of the next 13 games, they have to win 10 of them. They've been Chivas' best friend so far in the Clausura. And I think it kind of makes sense as to why Chivas, you know, gave them all their cast-offs, because if they didn't work for Chivas, they're not going to work for Dorados. It makes all the sense in the world. It's like a great sabotage. Joel.
Yes, sir.
I mean, don't you feel a little for the Dorados fans that they have a team, they make it, and then that team just gets completely torn apart, and they bring a bunch of new dudes, and it's just been terrible ever since.
I think no, I mean that's a team that doesn't really have a presence in first division, so I don't really, you know, I don't really care much. But going back to the best friend you were saying.
What do you mean, man? Pep Guardiola was playing there. They have a history.
Yeah, that's not. Anyways, they have right there secret agent Luis Michel, and I think he's their goalkeeper. I think he's been messing up on purpose. He's a Chivas savior right there.
But wouldn't he want to help his team. I thought that
He's the
that's
true hero.
Chivas.
He's the
Oh,
true
I
hero,
see.
not Almeida. Huh?
So you're saying that he's been the key to Chivas's
Hey, look at his performances.
campaign.
This guy was national team caliber goalkeeper.
At one point, he was. I don't think he was a long-term caliber.
Yeah,
goalkeeper.
but if you compare to how he's doing now, it's suspect.
Well, I think he was a good shot stopper, but I mean that was about the extent of his skills, and I mean that's fine. I mean you can make a career out of that, but I'm not entirely sure that he was ever going to be anything more than a reserve goalkeeper for the national team, even at his best. But the thing about Dorados, I think Joel has a point. I mean, a lot of us don't really have anything invested in this team because, we just don't. There's not a lot there, at least over the last 7-8 years with this team that would make you think that, they deserve to stay in the first division or anything like that. But at least for their fans, it is disappointing because the 2 seasons prior to them coming up to the first division, they were playing really well in the Liga de Ascenso. But the only thing was their team was built around a lot of loan players that came in on loan, a couple of younger players. And the signs, the red flag should have gone up when they came up to the first division, and instead of really doing or taking the time to scout and build a decent core, if some of the guys that they had were going to go back to their teams or parent teams, they really didn't do a lot. They didn't do themselves any favors with the guys they started bringing in. And then subsequently the coach that they brought in, Suarez is a very good coach, but he wasn't a guy that was going to save them from relegation.
That's true. Now, my issue with them, in the sense, if we look at who has come up over the past couple of years, namely Tijuana and Leon, and to a lesser extent Veracruz, but they were not really the team that came up. But specifically Tijuana and Leon, they came up, they had a base of good players, and then they kept that base, and then they did really well their first years in the league. I mean, Tijuana within a couple of years won a championship. Obviously, Leon did as well. They didn't completely tear their team apart. They had the base, they had the coach, and they seemed to have done well. Now, UDG did the same thing last year. They, again, completely disassembled their team, and they were one and done. And it's very obvious that Dorados is going to be a one and done too. So, again, I do feel for the folks in Culiacan. I felt a little worse for the Leones Negros just because, in my opinion, and at least in my history, they're more of a traditional team, and it's a team that I grew up watching and was in the league for a while, made a couple of finals, have a good following, etc. Dorados, kind of like Joel said, they're not really, they're kind of a flash in the pan, so, it's not going to upset me that they go down, but I do feel bad for their fans in the sense that their team never really had a chance, and that you don't really know how they could have done with their same players. It would have been a little bit more interesting. But
what are the fewest amount of points accumulated in a season? Has there been a perfect 0 team ever?
I don't think so. I think Chivas had a really bad couple years ago. I don't even think they got to 10, which is one of the reasons why they're in the situation they're in. But I think there's been plenty that have done single digits, but I don't know if anyone's ever laid the immortal goose egg.
Do you think this team has it in them?
They'll probably beat Pumas the way things are going. No, I think they'll win a couple games, but they're not gonna get the 30 points they need. That's that's no way. There's no way that's gonna happen. When I was young, there used to be a team called Laguna. I guess they were the precursor to Santos.
Lagunitas.
No, go on.
They were terrible, and when I would watch them, they never won. And if they drew, it was a miracle. And I don't think they lasted, but maybe a year or two. Man, I can't remember. They had awful uniforms too.
No, I don't want it.
The uniforms, or even for Santos Laguna, the uniforms continue to be bad just because of the amount of the amount of sponsors that they put on the shirts was pretty bad.
They look like something that you'd see at Daytona.
Oh man, I used to get clowned a lot wearing them, man. They're like people always thought it was like some people. I mean, a lot of people would say it jokingly, but some actually thought it was NASCAR.
Well, Monterrey was worse. I got counted once. They had 16 sponsors at one point, plastered all over the. They even had like one for the right sock and one for the left sock. It was nuts. God bless them.
Hey, stadiums cost money, man.
I guess they do.
Especially when they burn down the seats and stuff.
You know, we'll talk. We'll it's a good point to jump into our little next talk, kind of a little whip around Liga MX. We'll start with Monterrey. So, were you really complaining about the refs, Fernando, when they lost to Pachuca 3-1?
No, it was a legit loss. You know, even the León lost too. So the best teams lost that week, and it was just their week. You know, they couldn't keep going with their perfect. You know, it's hard to maintain it in the Liga MX. So.
Because I seem to recall a message about how the refs gifted a penalty, which, you know, sounds like someone threw you with a loser lifeline and then you grabbed on pretty tight.
No, you know what? I'm not gonna pull a Americanista thing here. They lost fair and square, and that's all there is to it.
Well, Pachuca is no joke. They played awesome. They're undefeated. They're at the top of the table. I see this team doing real well.
Yeah, they got a really good team. There's no question. They enjoy watching them. I enjoy watching them play. They played America a couple weeks ago and just tore them to pieces, and that was very enjoyable. If you don't mind my saying.
It's that much, huh?
I think you guys will eke out a point against them next week. I'm hoping.
Yeah, you think so?
Sure, why not? I mean. I think they have looked good, but I don't think they're anything that's unbeatable.
Well,
and
Santos is doing well too.
Yeah, I think they've looked pretty in control of most of the games that they've won. Well-deserved victories. They seem to be believing in themselves, and they're starting really fast, which is, you know, they're getting started like in the first half of the games. They're taking early leads and holding on. I mean, they're not blowing teams out, but they're playing smart.
Sorry to interrupt you guys, but as far as the question about, you know, single digits finishing, there's been a couple in the short seasons: Indios, Tecos, Puebla, Querétaro. In fact, the Indios didn't even win a game the entire season.
Didn't Necaxa do that when they went down too? Like they had a bunch of ties. When Brailovsky was coaching them, they couldn't get him to win either. Oof.
Indios tenía que ser.
Oh, that's wrong, dude.
Yeah, no, that's bad form, dude.
Estoy avergonzado.
Indeed. America looked good. They added to Dorado's misery, helped Chivas out with their win.
Now, speaking of which, I wasn't complaining about the refs, John.
Well, they won.
No. I'm talking about the Pachuca game.
Oh no, I know you're not talking about the refs. It was the appeal.
My beef.
I understand.
That's a bridge under the water, man.
We'll get to that.
Okay, all right. We'll get to that.
Don't bust that nut yet. We'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I know you have your tirade segment. It's coming up. Don't worry. You know, in fact, we have a comment on our YouTube page. People want us to talk about Pachuca, so let's talk about Pachuca then. So, I believe, Ronnie, earlier you had requested a tirade, so go ahead.
Oh, he went to drop a deuce.
He's not with us. We'll have to do his tirade.
No, I'm here.
He's here.
No.
So.
All right. Well, my beef is, and it's been reported for like over the past, over a decade.
To who?
What's that? It's been reported. You can Google it and stuff like that. That ref officials tend to get preferential treatment, the red carpet treatment when they go to Pachuca and when they go to the university.
Now, when you say red carpet treatment, please elaborate. Do they have a nice locker room? They have hot water. They have masseuses. They get descremadas.
They get chauffeured around. They get dinners and stuff like that. I mean, that's what's been reported and stuff.
Do they get envelopes full of money?
I don't know about that, but they the treatment they do hook up the officials.
So they give them Uber XL instead of just regular Uber.
So I mean, they're not like what you were saying, where Veracruz turns off the air conditioning.
Right.
But Pachuca does the exact opposite. They give them
Well, it looks like
the VIP
paying off.
Well, yeah, true, but my thing is this: is like Lozano, he comes in with a miscalculated tackle. Obviously, he hits I forget the player. He tweeted the injury.
Egidio Arevalo.
No.
He tweeted the injury, and my point is like, well, how would the disciplinary committee do the investigation if they never even talk to the other player and see about the injury? And it's just like, I just don't understand why Pachuca would get that sort of treatment where they would expunge the red card, knowing that other clubs in the past, including America, have tried to expunge red cards to no avail.
That's not. I mean, there are other clubs that have gotten red cards when they got their guys to play. I mean, every team appeals the red card. Some teams win the appeal, some teams don't.
That was a very bad call in the first place.
My point was that, okay, like for example, I really doubt that they're doing thorough investigations because, I mean, and this kind of goes back to the whole, Baloy Quinteros thing, where they did an investigation, but how the hell did they even do the investigation?
They asked Darwin, did you say that no?
No, when Darwin was, I mean, they were already outside of the country, So, I mean, obviously...
They called him on the phone.
Skype.
They texted him, oye, Dario, sí o no? He said, no. No lo dije.
What did he call him, by the way? I forgot.
I don't know. It was Simio, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. No, so I mean, my point is this: it's like, are they even making an effort? Because, I mean, Pachuca is getting that. They've been getting preferential treatment, and they've been getting it for long.
But it's not like they're turning it into wins. I mean, Pachuca's been pretty mediocre for a while. Now, I know that at the director level, they got a guy who was suspended for just a couple of months, whereas
4 months as opposed to Cudi a year.
Yeah,
so
but Cudi
for almost the same thing.
On the air that he was drunk. I mean,
Fassi also went out of his way to approach the the official, and it's not like it really mattered because Fassi was gonna, he took that suspension and he went back to Argentina because they also own a club over there. So it's like, no harm, no foul. But I just
maybe he did it on purpose.
Well, no, but I'm just saying it's. They give Cudi a year, but they give Fassi, 4 months. I mean, that's bullshit.
Maybe they're afraid to getting assaulted again.
But I mean, like I said, I think that there's some, some other circumstances there that we didn't see in the Fassi case, and namely the dude was drunk, and then he went after him in the parking lot after the game. Did Fassi do that too? Did he go out of his way like that to go after a ref?
Even still, I think a year.
He probably showed up at the hotel, the hotel bar. I'm sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
No, I was just saying, I still think it seems rather much. But then again, I didn't think Piojo deserved to get fired for what he did either. But that's just me, I guess. I'm a little more forgiving than others.
No, you're right. One of the things that I've noticed about in these situations with Liga MX, and of course, just as I'm saying this, I lost my train of thought. So, what are you gonna do?
I think it's just a little bit of whining there from Ronnie. There wasn't. I mean, I can see the Veracruz, the Cudi suspension. I mean, it was blown up in the media. It went all over Twitter. But he caused a whole ruckus. They laid hands on the old dude. You're picking on an old man, so that's gonna rile up some people. And the whole Pachuca, the Lozano thing. He got to the ball first. He kicked the ball away, and then he just, from inertia, came down on the dude. And I don't even think he barely even touched him.
Not only that, but Chucky's not a dirty player, so I mean, it's not as if there was precedence here.
And his reaction was not that of, oh yeah, I deserved it. He was going crazy because that was just a crazy call. I didn't deserve a red or anything.
More to my point though. Even okay, well obviously he did make contact because the player. Obviously the player, he tweeted his injury, so obviously he did. There was a miscalculated tackle.
Just arrived, I think.
But
did he
even
his food like the America guys?
It's the game of soccer. You're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
You're gonna hit each other. Contact sport. It's gonna happen. But there wasn't no intention. There wasn't no.
I am a firm believer that.
Hey! Hold on.
Plays an issue.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's intention or not. A foul's a foul. Sometimes you don't have the intent to foul, but you still commit it.
That wasn't even a foul. I don't think.
It wasn't a foul. I don't think he made contact. Did he make contact? I don't think he did.
Even if he did, that wasn't a foul.
Well,
he went after the ball.
How did he get the injury then?
What?
What injury? Got a little cut.
The ball was in the air. He went up and he kicked the ball away. Of course, you're going to bring your foot down. It doesn't belong up in the air. And when he brought his foot down, the dude slid underneath and maybe got a little bit of a slice on his leg. Which that's just the game.
Yeah. And my point is, I think reputation and precedence goes a long way when it comes to the refs and their decisions. I mean, a guy like Ruben Sambuesa is always going to be on a short leash because he smacked a ref a few years ago when he was at Tecos, so they're not going to forget.
If that play happened with America, not only is it a suspension for the red card, we're talking about another suspension for anti-fair play as to how he reacts.
Probably worse.
And how he would react.
But again, that's because that's how America plays.
They deserve it.
No.
That's their reputation. They have a reputation of being a dirty team.
No.
Ronnie, I think Jungle has a point though. If you think think about
you're not supposed to. You're not supposed.
He's another player who often who would never get the benefit of the doubt. There's some players that after a while, in a perfect world, but we all know that's not true though.
And then that's more to my point that the damn officials are corrupt, or not corrupt, but they're just inept, and they need to clean house, starting with Codesani.
Not all of them are inept.
Come on, I mean look at Lozano's reaction and look at Mickey Arroyo's reaction. When he got thrown off 2 weeks ago or whatever. I mean, and Baloy basically slapped him, choked him. Nothing.
He deserved it.
No,
he deserved it. But President got a black card.
I'm just saying, dude. There's certain clubs, Pachuca being one of them, León being another. Okay,
Arroyo's reaction was elbowing some dude.
What's that?
Last week.
He elbowed a guy in the nuts.
And what did Felipe Baloy do? Remember, there should have been 3
that
players.
Dude's dirty also.
Absolutely. See, you're right. They should have red carded Baloy on top of that.
Oh hell, even Azteca's own commentators were talking, during the America game, saying, "Oh man, they got it easy." I mean, there should have been 3 players that should have been sent off direct red cards because of how they.
Right, and 2 of them were America.
How are you equating that though with Lozano though?
Because because still, even if there was no intent, there was still a miscalculated tackle. Okay, and that's a red card, even if it's a yellow. Okay.
But again, Ronnie, reputation of precedence plays there. I mean, he got a red card. So why are you so upset?
A foul's a foul.
That's my point. He actually got the red card in the game.
No, but okay, he did get carded, but then to get expunged after the fact.
Well, they obviously looked at the videotape and said that it wasn't a red card, so he got expunged.
But did they not check with the other player to see his injury?
How do you know they didn't?
Well, obviously there's a picture on the internet now, which brings me to
the way y no me hablaron. Did he say that?
What? Hey, Beto, what's your position on these players uploading their injuries on Twitter?
Chillon.
But on Egidio Arevalo's case, though, it was the wife that uploaded it, not him. So.
No, it was him, dude. It was him.
No, it was the wife.
It was.
No, it was his wife.
It was his wife.
It wasn't that people, man. Or Gargano. Whatever his name is.
Oh, you mean that other? Oh, okay, never mind. I thought it was Guido Arevalo who was the one who got.
No, it wasn't him. And he's the one, and his wife didn't post it. It was
wait, we have confirmation. It was Gargano. Gargano was the player from Monterrey. Come on, Pern. I thought you watched the game.
What? No, it was the player from Atlas who got sliced.
No,
I thought Pachuca played Monterrey. I'm sorry,
last week.
Monterrey.
No, I thought we're talking about that. Okay, we're talking about different files. Sorry. There was this Guido Arevalo from Atlas. He got like sliced, and his wife posted the picture with this nasty cut.
You know what I'm gonna do tomorrow? I'm gonna get a hangnail and I'm gonna post it on Twitter. Look what Ronnie did to me. No, but it was Gargano. Thank you, Constantino, who is one of our loyal listeners on YouTube. Please tell your friends that we're on every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central. The Dos a Cero podcast. Okay. Joel, do you have any good gossip for us in your Lavandero segment?
None this week, John.
No?
Yeah, I'm starting off wrong.
Are you still researching the third shooter?
The snub, but that's different.
I lost some interest.
No, I don't blame it. It's America. No one wants to pay attention.
Can we call this the Maury Povich segment of Dos a Cero?
Sure. The Jerry Springer.
Well, the Maury Povich is big on the Who's Your Daddy, or he is not the father type of shows.
That's right.
Well, it's not Layun, so.
So he gets to right. He gets a sigh of relief. All right.
Now we're gonna celebrate.
Indeed. Well, let's see. Where's my list of goodies here? Because I dropped my book. Where's it? Joel, you mentioned earlier in the week that you wanted to talk about Chivas. In the sense that they snubbed FMF for their Molero next week in Miami. They're not going to send players, and you think that there's going to be repercussions for them. Please elaborate.
Yeah, I just feel there's some young guys that they want that exposure, and the other ones that are trying to they're trying to leave the team. That's kind of obvious. And it could. There was some reports earlier that they had a team meeting with Almeida and Bravo, talking to the squad. But it's interesting because Bravo was one of the first guys to speak out. Say Chivas should have up to 15 players in the national team. So, something might go on. I think time will tell. We'll see how that. If it breaks the locker room or if it brings them closer.
I don't think this is going to make them closer at all. If anything, the team is going to make them resent being part of that team. It's like just I think Omar Bravo was pretty clear as to how the rest of the guys feel that, even despite whatever the case is and whatever situation the team is in, there's no honor like being able to represent the country.
And you know what? They haven't been clear on whose call it was. Was this Almeida's decision? They haven't said who decided not to release players.
Who do you think decided?
With Chivas is difficult because I know that Higuera has he's been one of the main. He's been one of the everyone is looking at Vergara, but the past 6 months it's been all Higuera who's been controlling the team.
Joel, remember just 10 years ago when Chivas was doing the same thing where they didn't want to lend their players because they were super Chivas and the Libertadores and
they still took him.
No, but what I'm saying is when La Volpe was there, I mean he was also having problems with catching heat from Vergara, because he would take 6-7 players to the camps, or he would take 6 players to the national team, and Vergara would complain. So I don't know if this is Almeida. I don't know if this is Higuera. I think the smart money is on Vergara, obviously because of what they're fighting now is relegation.
Yeah, but Vergara wouldn't he want his players on the national team to, like how it said, for them to get that exposure, so that he can maybe make a little money selling them?
I mean, it could be. I mean, obviously, back in 2005, 2004, obviously Chivas was doing very well, playing very well, and to a degree, I could understand Vergara's point of view, because sometimes, remember, La Volpe would have access to the players for these mini camps, and obviously that would.
Chivas.
And that would affect, Chivas, the most, because they would have to lend out, Salcido, Massa, Medina, who am I missing? Bravo.
Ramon Morales.
Yeah, Ramoncito Morales. I don't think both. Well, Bofo too, but he was. Yeah, Bofo.
Sometimes a goalie, because he would be the third keeper.
Reynoso.
No, Reynoso no.
Osvaldo was the goalkeeper for a while.
Yeah. So,
I know, it just seems to me that I remember Vergara saying, "Oh, the national team comes first, yada yada yada," and now that doesn't seem to be the. Oh, see, we got some agreement.
Know what? One of the things. One of the rumors is that Osorio was trying to bring in Brizuela. He was trying to call him up, at least into camp. And that's a player that hasn't really performed for Chivas, and if he was to be in the national team, or at least have a decent showing, he could help the team in selling them, recovering some of that money.
So they said it could have been up to 4 players. Obviously, one of them is Salcedo, who it looks like is going to get to go because he's got a red card.
He probably did it on purpose too.
Yeah, you're probably right. So it would have been Salcedo. And who else?
Quick subject. Did anybody know who won the Puebla Racing game last I checked?
I saw it was 2-2. I don't know if anybody won or not.
No, because I'm watching actually Copa MX. I'm watching Chivas right now.
You're watching.
Yeah, they're playing.
What's the score?
It's 1-0. They're hanging in there.
Oh. Yeah, they're hanging in there. The 93rd minute.
Oh, they've been defending champions, huh?
But you know what's coming?
¿Y la Cruz Azuleo?
No, that's not gonna happen.
It's 2-2 final, Puebla.
2-2 final? Idiots.
Oh, and have you guys mentioned Picolín?
Well, we're coming to that. I was just curious. I guess we don't have our. I know Joel is a Chiva, but he doesn't really follow him. So that there would be 4 players. So who are the 4 players going to be?
It was Salcedo.
Brizuela.
Yeah, Brizuela. And
Gullit.
Yeah, Gullit, and then the other guy, Dedos Lopez.
Dedos. Okay.
Wasn't Almeida complaining, like he said he sent Alanis to the national team and he came back with 1 leg? Like griping all over the place about this now. He needs all the players he can get.
Okay, Chivas won. They're celebrating like they just won the World Cup. Okay, I'm lying. But...
Hey, they're the defending champions. They're the defending champions, so they should celebrate, man.
I saw Jorge Vergara on Periscope, and I was like, oh, let me check this out. And all he was talking about was Omni. What's that stuff? Omni Light or not?
Oh, his liquid.
Yeah, like he had a box and he was showing, talking about sales numbers and all this stuff.
To this day, I've never seen that product. Okay, I've never seen it.
I used to drive to Arlington to do Rangers in Espanol for Fox and Time Warner, and there was an OmniLife branch right on the highway in Fort Worth, and I never saw any cars parked. Whether it was employees or customers, it just happened to be there.
Same thing in Houston. There was one on the Gulf Freeway off of 45, if I'm not mistaken, and same thing. No cars, nothing. Joel, you want to explain that? Is it a front or something?
I don't know, man. I did see a Chihuahua once.
Oh,
One can.
maybe it's the
One
Mexican
can.
Breaking Bad.
And didn't. Pollos Hermanos. Yeah, it didn't let me drink it though.
Now that Chihuahua, was that back at your family's farm in Guadalajara?
No. No, I was here. One of my friends bought it. Because I don't think it did good. Because I don't know if you remember, they tried replacing soft drinks with Chihuahua.
What a terrible name.
Yeah, it sounds bad, man.
That's like the Chevy Nova.
At some point, dude, you gotta laugh at Vergara. You know, it's there. I mean, there just comes a point, dude. I mean, he from one day he says that he's not gonna prostitute the shirt. He's not gonna pimp out his shirt with sponsors, and then like the very next season, he has to get sponsors on the shirt. And then remember when he had the jetliner, bragging about his teams only fly first class, their own private plane. They played against Boca, and he actually sent the plane to pick up the Boca players. And then like a year later, they're having to fly coach.
Sounds about right. Well, moving on.
The last on that, because they even sold the team bus, so that the team bus that they celebrated with, I think it belonged to America.
Was it Estrella de Oro?
I think I mean, it was one of those.
Leche amarilla.
Was it Adame?
Was it a Peribus?
Yeah, no, I think they bought it from America. It was refurbished. But one thing that has hurt them.
Did the upholstery in the bus come with cum stains from America?
Layun and Lalo right there mix. But no, going back to because stuff they had to sell, they've had to sell a lot. Vergara has sold.
Well, is that because of the fact that he had to pretty much finance the stadium itself?
Yeah. Well, you know what? He was gonna finance not just the stadium, but a whole complex.
I know. He was supposed to have a palenque in there. He was supposed to have a library in there, a hotel in there.
A museum, and there's nothing there. It's just the stadium, and it's just
not even a parking lot.
So, but I think what has hurt them the most was when they sold Tapatio, because that was their the team that was in second division, or
right.
And that allowed up to like close to 30 players to get good, good playing time. And when they went up to the first team, they were more seasoned, more developed. And that was one of the complaints from youth coaches, that playing the under 20 league, the FMF under 20, that's not helping them. And I think that's been one thing that has helped affected the squad.
Who's number 23 for them? You have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
You don't even know who's on the team.
No, I have a.
Giovanni's on the team.
Giovanni Hernandez?
No, Giovanni Dos Santos. He's with Chivas. What? He's on loan. He's on loan to Chivas. No, but now the Triles comes out tomorrow. We probably maybe should have timed our show a little better. There are rumors, and I don't know if these are unsubstantiated or substantiated or not, but the rumor is, and I can't even say it without cracking up, is that Picolín Palacios of Pumas is going to get called up.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's legit, man.
Deserve a long time coming.
Oh, what's funny that
I can't wait to see it. I hope he starts.
We've been joking about that, and for the last couple months, and unfortunately, I say that with from the bottom of my heart. Unfortunately for all of us, this guy is about to get capped. On the other hand, I mean, given that it's not a FIFA date, It's the epitome of Molero. It's hard to see, I guess, what other goalkeepers would have been available. But I feel like at this point, you could have called in any of the under 23 goalkeepers, and it would have been probably a better idea than bringing in this guy, the guy that has no name. I can't. I'm sorry.
Is it because he's ugly or something? Man?
You know, the only problem it should have happened for the both of them. It should have been the Picolin brothers should have been called up at the same time.
No, but you know what the problem is? It's going to be now that if he gets capped, then there's going to be that weird sort of media thing that's going to happen where they're going to ask Osorio about his brother, and eventually Osorio will call him up too. We don't need this. We don't need to pollute the national team shirt with players like this. The guy is not national team material. And even I would say in a friendly, like a meaningless friendly like this, it's just like, no.
Why not though?
What's
that about?
I'm kind of here with Dan, dude. I don't make him out to be some horrible player, or even, you know, he's a journeyman. He's a journeyman.
He's a jackass. And I think everybody, we like to hate him because of his shenanigans, but I mean, his team went to the final. I mean, that speaks for itself. He had a really good season, and I think it's not totally
the problem
unwarranted.
is that was the same reasoning behind bringing in Cirilo Saucedo at the time, and bringing in Meliton. It's a nice thing that their teams do well, and in this case, obviously, he made it to the final. But I don't know if that alone is merit enough to bring the guy in. I mean, it's just.
Well, they got to bring
an average goalkeeper at best.
You're going to see him one game, and then he's going to be gone forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine.
But one thing, if you're a player and a goalkeeper, and you see Picolin, I mean, that's going to inspire you to work harder.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, obviously.
Quiero que me marque Picolin. Is that the
think of the ad campaigns for this guy when he plays. You know, he's gonna Ponte la Verde, the whole bit. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to bring him in and have him do a lot of commercials because they need to fill it in with players from the national team. But I mean, just going back to the point I just made real quick, I didn't really need to see Tijuana play well for two seasons in a row, 3 seasons, whatever, and become champions to know that Cirilo Saucedo was not a national team caliber goalkeeper. I didn't need to see that to say the team was doing well, Tijuana was doing really well, but I didn't need for that to happen for me to at least have the opinion that Cirilo Saucedo was not a national team goalkeeper. And the same kind of goes for Meliton, maybe to a lesser degree because he did play okay in some of the games that he played. I think 2 games he played or 3 games he was okay until he became terrible at Veracruz. But I feel like in this instance, you bring in a Jesse Gonzalez, or you bring in, the kid from Monterrey that was playing before Jonathan Orozco came back. I mean, he could have went in a different direction and bringing in this guy.
Now they're also bringing in Chuy Corona.
Is it Jonathan or Jonathan?
Depends on what side of the bed you wake up on.
Jonathan. So it's gonna be Chuy, Corona, and Picolin. So I mean, two storied goalkeepers from traditional teams. It all makes sense.
Christ.
I used to joke with Martín del Palacio years ago when he first went on Twitter. He'd say, "Hey, I have to vote for the FIFA Players of the Year. I have to vote for 3." And I'd always say, "Well, aside from the 2 Picolins, who are we gonna vote for?" And it's kind of a running joke we've had for about 4 or 5 years about, anything, world class related. I say, you mean aside from Picolin, and he always responds. It's anyway.
Constantino in the chat says mentions Conejo.
I mean, no.
I would call him.
I wouldn't.
Conejo's immortal, dude.
Oh, come on, man! Don't say that.
I was in South Africa, dude. He pissed me off.
Muy triste, ¿no?
He's our Buffon. He's our Gianluigi Buffon.
No, he's definitely.
So Christian, who else would you rather have?
You know what?
called?
The kid from Morelia is a kid that looks. He's got some skill. He's got some pretty decent games. I mean, again, if it's a partido molero, I guess you can understand why you would call him in, but especially if he's not going to play. But if he's just going to be called in to start on the bench, I would have rather called in any of the under 23s.
Well, it's only one game. He might play half. I seriously doubt he will. That's one position on the national team that is pretty solid with Talavera and Memo whenever he starts playing again, hopefully soon. Moy Munoz, Jonathan Orozco is pretty decent. It's solid, and even Corona and the kid from Guadalajara is pretty good. There's a lot of good goalkeepers. Picolín is just a goalkeeper. He's not anything special.
He's a hell of an actor. He's a hell of an actor.
He is. He's
energetic.
He's honing his craft.
For that reason alone, I really want to see him play. And
oh, for Christ's sake.
And I'm really, really hoping that whatever ref comes down and calls the game, isn't familiar with his antics and actually buys his bullshit.
Remember
that'll make a partido molero worth it.
Remember the other Picolín, the defender, when they would play against the U.S. in not Interliga, but
Superliga.
No, I think it was the CONCACAF.
In the CONCACAF Champions League.
Oh, he scored against the Dynamo.
He scored like a scorpion goal.
Yeah,
scorpion goal. But I remember, he would get into the face of the U.S. players and stuff like that, and
yeah, he would dish it out.
He would, both of them.
Yeah. That's a positive, I guess. If there's anything to look at it from here, that's definitely it.
There you go.
Well, they're gonna get in the face of the Senegalese. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we don't have any beef with them. So I was gonna hold
get brushed by one of the Senegal forwards, and he'll roll around like he'd been shot 4 or 5 times.
You know what though, John? I do think that there's an element of I hate him because he's ugly. Because I'm a Santos fan, and I distinctly remember Oribe Peralta. He killed it for a good year, and then he finally started getting called up to the national team, and everybody bitched. Everybody bitched, and it was like one clutch goal after another, just continuous goals, and then finally suddenly he became just the starter.
Well, that's where his nickname comes from, no?
So you're saying that's what's going to happen to Picolín? Are you predicting, Dan, today that Picolín is going to start in Copa America?
Oh, for Christ's sake!
No, but I'm just reminding everybody that
he's going to be the next Conejo Perez.
When Peralta was first joined Santos, no one ever imagined that he'd be responsible for giving Mexico their one and only gold medal.
Well, to me personally, it's got nothing to do with the fact that he's definitely not a looker. The guy is, these guys are possibly two of the ugliest players I've ever seen.
And I bet you both of them have really hot wives.
Yeah, I'm sure they do, because that's kind of how this works. They're professional athletes, and no matter how ugly they are, they're going to have a decent piece of candy in their arm. But with him, it's got nothing to do with that. At least I can say that consciously. There may be an element of that that I'm just not aware of.
How about unconsciously?
Well, apparently El Cepillo, they call him Cepillo because está cepilludón.
Well, when he got to America, one of the things they told him about is, one of the things he should look into is getting an image consultant, and that's why you see. No, I'm serious. He talked about this. That's why you see him now. He's got
cooler hair.
He doesn't have just a shaved head or whatever. This is how it grows. I don't care. He's pretty. He's styling it up, and he's got the beard going, kind of thing. And he looks a little more presentable. I'd bring him around if I was a woman.
Even his goal celebration.
So, Christian, are you saying that sort of, it was okay to be Naco looking in Santos, but when you get to America, you have to clean yourself up? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that personally, but living in the DF, you gotta look sharp, man. You gotta look good when you walk around. La Zona Rosa, you know, you gotta look good, man.
And wearing the color chart, you have to be in El DF. Oh, never mind. We can't talk about that.
Well, even his image as far as on the national team, his goal celebrations were exciting. Like whenever he scored that goal, just against the U.S. a while ago.
Oh yeah.
It's like energetic, just the way he celebrates, the passion he has. So it's not, he's a cool player.
Well, even when he was with the Olympic team, he wasn't in great shape going into the Olympics, and people were the press and the fans were really just on top of him, and
he turned it around.
And so I mean, if we're honest with ourselves, it's because of that he has maintained himself with the national team, at least on the periphery of the national team for the last year or so. Despite the fact, that he's had his ups and downs, it's that we know we have a sample size of him being able to pull through his own slumps and come through. So, I mean, I don't know how much longer that's going to go on for, because he's going to have to make way. He's going to have to make way for somebody else.
Uribe is a proven goal scorer, and he has been for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, ever since he got on that really hot streak when Santos won the championship. And that year, that calendar year, he scored 40 goals in all competitions.
Yeah,
That's good for
ridiculous. Peralta caught a lot of flack this week for the comments he made about that he's learning to to like America.
It's a normal. I thought personally there was nothing controversial about that, and I think that it's a weird thing because he was asked about it and he was like, well, when I was growing up, Santos was the only team that was around my area, so I grew up, watching them, and there's a natural element to my support towards the team, and then to eventually play for them and to become a champion and really have my career take off because of this team. It's something that it's a natural sort of love that he has for the team, and I thought he was very diplomatic in the way that he framed it, but of course, it doesn't matter how he said it.
It doesn't bother me. I mean, honestly, it's not like he would even. It's a question, framed by the press because no one's going to talk about that.
Question. He answered it, and then they said, "Oh, what do you mean? You mean And then they say he doesn't like blah blah blah, and then he had to respond. And they're like, "Why are you responding? We're just responding to what you said. They're just trying to cause."
In fairness to him, I mean, they did make him get an image consultant. So after he got over the fact that he's been called ugly by his own team, now he says he's feeling okay about being there. Now he likes them okay. So
he needs to get a tattoo of Chavelo, ironically, put it some like on his shooting leg or something.
I don't want to do anything more.
But by the way, Jorge, Almeida's he's doing his presser right now. Hey, I didn't realize Gonzalo Pineda, he works for Univision now.
Yeah, he's all pimped out.
He's all pimped out in a pinstripe. That's probably pissing off Weasel because he
looks like the Joker.
He doesn't like seeing the Mexican guys doing TV. He wants some coaching.
I mean, Gonzalo Pineda could be, who knows? I mean, he's still very young. He's probably in his mid-30s.
Well, one of you guys said he's a lawyer, right?
Yeah, he's got a law degree from Pumas.
Yeah, that's
what I was going to say. That's the kind of guy you do want to be in the coach. Really smart guys like that are just able to see stuff that not everybody can.
Well, he's been a really good addition to the Univision Deportes team. I mean, he's kind of been that voice of reason when you have the other Spazzos kind of flipping out, and I mean they made a little meal of the whole thing with Uribe Peralta and the comments about America, and he was pretty much like, I don't know what the problem is. I mean, you're a professional player, you're going to play for multiple teams, you're not going to love all the teams equally. This is not how it works, and I mean it's almost like it's almost like too much common sense. Like, why is this a problem? But I like what he's doing. I think that potentially he could end up in Mexico working for Televisa like Kikín or some of the other scrubs, Osvaldo.
Kikín, I actually enjoy his.
I don't mind him at all. He does all right.
He also was on BN, isn't he?
He was on BN for the Copa America.
Yeah, he was.
He was really good, and he was really good there. But some of the stuff at Televisa has been. Ugh. But then you're kind of reminded that you're not immersed in the, day-to-day cynicism that permeates Mexican culture. It's you watch some of this stuff and you're like, oh wow, like that's a little harsh, and then you kind of have to take a step back and realize it's just kind of like it's part of the bubble down there. It's just
Isn't
how
it
it is.
bizarre how you watch shows like Picante and Última Palabra and the stuff that's on in the morning on I guess Televisa Deportes that we get out here on Univision Deportes, and exactly, they're just so incredibly cynical and sarcastic, and just everything to them is, oh yeah, nudge nudge, wink wink.
Yeah, it's
and
always
watch
like
a show on
yeah.
BN, and it's like they're just talking about the soccer. It's like, wow, what a difference.
Well, I think you guys have seen. I don't know if you guys have seen the interview with Osorio on TV Azteca. They did last week, and it's one of those things where the guy, they're asking him questions about the team, and he's answering and giving his opinion on tactical setups and how he sees like how certain players fit into the schemes, and the whole panel was just really antsy, and they were just kind of like trying to interrupt him because they're not used to having an actual debate, so to speak, where they ask, oh, so what do you think about what's this formation, and then he'll respond. It was like they were asking, and as he was getting into the answer, they were like, yeah, but like, what about Gio Dos Santos? What do you think about him? And he's kind of like, well, we weren't even talking about him. Like, I don't know why you're interrupting me and asking about something completely different. But that's just kind of like the style of, you see it a lot with Jose Ramon Fernandez, for example.
Do they have a little puppet ask him questions?
Well, hey, speaking of Juan Carlos Osorio, he got into a little bit of some trouble with his MLS counterparts because of. What do you think? He's right for saying it, or he's wrong?
I don't think that what he said was wrong. I think any national team coach, for any team that has any real aspirations, and I feel like at the end of the day we all know that when it comes to winning the World Cup, you're only talking about a very small number of teams that have the ability and the capability to do it. But I mean, I feel like any other national team usually will aspire. We know everybody aspires to see that. And that ambition is the start. And so I feel like any national team coach from the region and even from South America doesn't even have to go on TV and tell the players that, if they want to be a part of the national team, that they should look to push themselves to the highest level, and that's almost a given. Again, it's almost like common sense. I think he was very diplomatic in what he said, and I think, it got taken out of context, partly because he's so long-winded in his explanations and he gets kind of lost in his own verbiage. But at the same time, I didn't really see anything wrong with it. And the fact that other coaches from the area have said the same thing, including Klinsmann.
Their own coach has said the same.
Jurgen Klinsmann has been saying it for ages. He wants his players in Europe, fighting day to day and improving, and I don't think that's really that far-fetched, especially when you look at a guy like Gio Dos Santos who, 5 years ago at the 2010 World Cup, the guy finished as a runner-up for the second, he was the second best young player at the World Cup, and he ends up coming to MLS at 26. I mean, of course it's a little disappointing.
Well,
I don't
keep
think
in
there's
mind
anything wrong with what he said, to be honest.
The U.S., the national team needs the MLS players.
Right.
They do best when they have MLS players. That's the sad irony for Jurgen.
It is. And that's, you're right. I mean, that is the irony, and obviously, you guys know that I don't believe in that whole everything in Europe is better.
Right.
They do
I don't
use
know.
the metric system.
I think there's a balance to be struck. I mean, I think that the problem with, I think that we would all agree that it wouldn't be ideal for the Mexican national team to only be pulling players from Mexico. And I mean, we've had that for a long time, 5 World Cups in a row with mostly domestic teams, and never being able to sort of cross that round of 16 barrier. So we know we can do that. We know we can keep a domestic team and go to the World Cup and be competitive. But what more could we do if the standout players in the league are going over to Europe and proving themselves at a higher, more competitive level? I mean, I think that's usually where that comes from.
But that should depend on the player. I mean, if the player,
yeah, of course,
has that ambition and he has a talent, and he knows that he can go over there and compete and start and play and do well and succeed, then yes, absolutely. But for young players, like my dream is to go to Europe, man. You gotta prove that you can play over there
in the league first. Yeah, you gotta put something.
Honestly, I don't think that Europe is the answer. I think that better planning, as far as better calendar. I mean, you guys know that our calendar in Liga MX has been a joke. Has been problematic for years because of the amount of games that we play and what we play and how we play. With the two different confederations and stuff. I just don't. I'm not buying into this whole. Europe is better and we got our three Europeos and I don't know.
Why you're not buying it?
Here's one thing, Ronnie. Though I know you're always harping on about the quality of the league and being good enough, but the players themselves are growing up in the same global environment where they've been watching Barcelona just as much as they've been watching their local team. So watching them on TV every weekend since they were little kids, before they were really playing seriously, their dream is already that reaching. Those are the kinds of heights they're reaching for now. It's not really no one player's ambition is going to be just to play Mexico anymore.
Well, I have a problem with your statement there. Your statements there because obviously, believe it or not, access to television and actually to cable like Sky and stuff like that is not very common. Obviously, you probably know that when the Mexican league, their playoffs are in pay-per-view and stuff like that, there's always a shitstorm and they always try to go to the politicians, hey, get it on free TV.
Are you against it, Ronnie?
So what I'm saying is that it's not like all the kids in the barrio and are watching Barcelona and watching Real Madrid. Obviously, with internet and stuff like that, they know of them, but it's not like they're watching them every day or every weekend.
I know. There's such a surplus of knockoff Barcelona jerseys out there because nobody buys them, nobody knows about them.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. Have you ever been to La Línea?
But you get my point. But you get my point is that watching Barcelona, watching La Liga and stuff like that, that's reserved for Sky. And obviously, if you guys know the battles that Televisa has with showing games on Sky and.
Well, I think you'd be surprised on how many people have those channels in Mexico. Yeah. So I think it's quite common that people have the ability to watch.
Or streaming still, that's still an option for a lot of people too. I mean,
over 50% of the population is in poverty, dude. They're not.
They have to have two.
Dude, you know how many cibers they have over there? They could just go Roja Directa and watch Barcelona Clásico.
Okay.
Dude,
Roja Directa. What's that? I don't know what Roja Directa is.
That's not.
Roja Directa, is that a porn site? I don't know.
Well, Ronnie's got a point. I mean, that's not the answer because if you look, you look at a team like Argentina. Argentina has gotten worse as a team since all their players are actually in Europe, and even the best teams in the world, they can't seem to put that to good use on the field as a national team. But you also look at a team like Colombia. For a solid year and a half, Colombia was one of the best teams in South America, and that was because they found a good balance of their European players that were peaking and having great seasons, and also some of the local talent. And I feel like that's where Mexico is. I feel like that's where Mexico really should strive for. Not this idea that if we have 11, 12, 20, 30 in Europe, they're all going to come back and make the national team like this amazing, well-oiled machine. It's probably not going to happen.
A couple of things.
Look to Africa. Look to Africa. Usually 20, like the African teams that go to the World Cup, usually either all or at least 20 of them are playing in England, France, Germany, Spain.
That's not a fair comparison, though, Ronnie, because those countries don't have legitimate leagues like Mexico. So Mexico has that of staying home, and you're still.
I thought you were going to say that's not a fair comparison because of the clicking sounds and the dolphins speak.
Wow. Hey, talking about the Africans, you know that the African Cup nation is going on.
You might have edit that.
And Congo is actually in the final. That means that Kiriaba guy, the bounce on his butt, is going to be going to the final.
There has to be a balance. There's no question.
Okay,
But
I honestly think that the better route to go was to do what La Volpe did and have have the inner like once a week or how many times did they did? They used to do it like twice a month, I think.
No, they would do like the first Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
He would have the players, and they would return to their teams.
How did that work out for them?
What's that?
Yeah, how did it work out?
Fantastic. They formed a great team
According
with, with not that much quality, So,
Look, here's what has to happen. Okay, so you have to have decent players to have a good national team. Mexico has that. Yes, they play in Europe. Some play in Mexico, whatever. But they've been playing together now, this team, for going on 2 years now. We're talking about the Layuns and the Guardado and Herrera. That's what makes the difference, is to have that consistency and playing together, regardless of where they come from. Now, granted, it would be nice if they were on, like, say, Tigres or whatever it is, and they were all playing together, kind of how the way Barcelona just transfers itself onto the Spanish national team. That would be the ideal situation. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But the fact is that these guys have been playing together. It makes a huge difference. You can see it in the way they play, regardless of what formation they play. They can play whatever formation, but they're comfortable with each other. They know what each other is going to do, and that makes a huge difference. And I think that they are going to get better. They're going to have a solid summer, regardless of where their players come from.
Yeah, I got a question.
If you're good enough to go to, yes, go ahead, Albert.
Do you like, sort of two-part? Do you guys see Mexico ever becoming a country? Or even would it be beneficial if there were like 30, 40, or maybe even 40 Mexican players playing all over the world, playing in Europe, and then whenever the national team gets called up, only a part of them, or if you want to call them 3 Europeos, come to the national team, and the rest are just sitting up in Europe with their teams. It's like Brazil and Argentina. Do you think Mexico will ever get to that point?
No.
I don't think so either. Simply because
go ahead.
Well, because the Mexican league still is going to be a huge sort of piece of the puzzle in a sense. Like the players that go to Europe are going to be players that are pretty much going to be,
elite,
front and center with the national team. I think that the other guys might go to Europe if they don't, if they don't succeed, they come back. If we get to a situation like Brazil or Argentina, what's going to happen is these players that are not getting called up will probably just go to China for $45 million or something.
The deal is that Liga MX is still an importers league. If it became an exporters league, then yes, I'd say it could happen. But until that day, and frankly, that day is a long way off, then no. Maybe Mexico won't happen.
I think, though, one of the hope, at least for some, and myself included, is that the hope is that the teams start producing just a greater amount of those type of caliber players, that where you are going to be able to have just a bigger pool to choose from. And not that it's actually pretty good right now, I think, but even more depth where that those players are getting being sent over there. I still think that the teams could be doing a little bit more and producing more.
Because Brazil and Argentina, they still have competitive leagues. They still win the Libertadores, Sudamericana, and all those, and have all the European players.
Right, because
but they're on a decline. I think they're and just like China. I mean, China's poaching a bunch of Brazilian players. So I think actually those leagues, and this is why I think the Mexican league has a real good chance to really set itself apart if they play their cards right and if they spend the money smartly. Because I do think that these leagues are going to continually, they're just going to always lose their players, and even more so now. I think it's going to be hard to compete.
No, you bring up some solid points, and we also can't forget the fact that the business model for the vast majority of the Argentine, Uruguayan, and Brazilian teams to a certain degree is that they make money by selling players. So it behooves them to try and churn those guys out as much as possible. So until we get to that point, and I think that's still a long ways off. Mexico will probably just send like you guys said, the cream of the crop, and then the majority.
You know what?
Half and half.
Just to add to that, I feel we do have good quality players, but I feel like our culture, like our football culture, we don't value our own talent. So we could have a good player, and we will bring, if there's an option to bring in some South American, like when they did with Fantic, who like if you read up on him, they just had like a YouTube video on him like as reference. So I mean they paid $1 million for Fantic. I mean, and I'm sure they had better players in the cantera. Like, America has really good cantera. They rarely use it. But just going back, if like the club owners had more faith in their own talent, you would see way more players. And that's the only thing, not having a chance to play. And you look at second division, and even the second division teams are loaded up with foreigners. And it's like there's this belief that you bring some, extranjero, and he's gonna make it more entertaining, or he's
more
just
competitive.
Or your team, but see, that's not really true. Or that your team is gonna be more exciting, or just it gives more prestige because you have an Argentine or you have like a Brazilian.
Well, it's more
maybe that's
like
what this podcast is, an Argentine.
Well, hey,
you push the local player to try harder to beat that Argentine.
No, but see, I'm telling you that you could use that argument, and it hasn't really worked. And I'll give a good example. I was talking to you guys the other day about Huracan, and I had been watching them play, in person about 2 years ago. They were in Segunda B in Argentina, and dude, that team was it was horrible to watch. And but they keep a lot of the same players playing, and recently they were in the Sudamericana final. They're currently in Libertadores. So a lot of these teams, when they have all these players, because they're letting them play all the time. They're getting all this massive playing time, so sooner or later one of your talent is gonna blossom.
Well, let's hope it's sooner rather than later. Boys, go ahead.
One of the things to consider too is, obviously Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, I mean, they're still great footballing nations, and they're still great, national teams. But obviously they're not winning the way they used to. And obviously because the culture is for them to go to Europe. And one of the things, and I firmly believe this, that one of the reasons that Mexico is not a World Cup champion like those three nations is because they didn't have a rival. They didn't have a rival. U.S. at that point didn't care about soccer. Well, in the past 20 years, the U.S. obviously now cares a great deal about soccer. And it kind of, believe it or not, it seems like both the U.S. and Mexico kind of like need each other to get to that next, to that elite status.
That doesn't work though.
Well, actually, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, Fernando, because when back in 2000, 2001, when all of Mexico's teams were failing at the youth levels, and obviously, the U.S. was doing well in the youth, and then obviously 2002 happened. Basically, the owners had to stop and think. It's like, oh shit, we got to do something, and they started doing. Are we past the 90 minutes?
We're coming up on it. It's all right. You got time. You got 2 minutes.
So I mean, obviously,
2 minutes of ranting.
It took that that 2-0. It took that that 2-0 to wake things wake up the owners. I honestly think that I don't think the answer is looking to Europe. I think the answer is looking to the north. Looking to the U.S. and basically push each other. Both the federations pushing each other to get to that elite status because obviously. Both teams, both federations want to get to that level.
Yeah, but have you seen the Conca Champions? How many times has a gringo team
But you know
has
that
won it?
that's not going to be like that forever, Fernando. You know
It's,
that
it's not.
It doesn't seem like there's any indication it's going to change. The U.S. MLS teams are getting worse and worse. That gap is getting bigger. That's what she said. You know what I mean?
Didn't they just have a team in the final?
Hey, watch out for Seattle this year. They're playing America pretty soon, I think.
That's right. In a couple of weeks, it'll be one of
That
my
Morris
top
kid's on the team.
Well, I guess you guys are right. There's a chance that America could be the La Vergüenza Internacional.
So just to remind everybody, like just in a couple of weeks' time, a few weeks' time, we're gonna have Querétaro against.
Wait.
What?
Speaking of Vergüenza Internacional, that for club teams, that belongs to Rayados. You lost the pre-Libertadores to a Venezuelan team.
Well, I thought that was Puebla right now.
Nah. At least they made it. They made it to the tournament. You guys lost to a Venezuelan team that didn't even have a stadium.
That's true. Tarmac at the airport. I remember that. All right, guys, we're coming up on the end. Dan, you can remind us of the CONCACAF schedule?
Just Querétaro is playing DC United, as well as Sounders against America on the 23rd. Then the following day we have Tigres Real Salt Lake at Tigres and Santos Laguna at LA Galaxy.
Okay. Well, next week we'll have a show. I would assume maybe we should aim for maybe a Thursday show because Mexico plays Senegal on Wednesday over in Miami with Soccer Chronicle presence with Chiquis Garcia. Maybe you'll have some sound bites for us from some of the players. Definitely a Picolín soundbite. That's your homework.
That's my goal right there, Picolín.
Yeah, get Picolín. And you need to say, soy Picolín Palacios y este es el 2-0 podcast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any of our listeners, you want Chiquis to ask any questions, just put it down on the podcast or on the YouTube, the comment section.
That's right, and we'll get those questions
Twitter would be good too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anybody else have anything to say as we wrap it up here in the final minutes?
So just try not to take any pictures of the actual children being walked onto the field, okay? These are the players, not the kids.
There may be some prospects. They might have some skills.
All right, just keep focused.
Have fun, Beto.
All right.
Yeah, man, have fun.
Yeah, will do.
Good job on the new intro, John.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, for everyone here, for Daniel, Fernando, Albert, Ronald, and Joel, and of course Juan Uribe, who couldn't join us
Don't
tonight.
forget Christian.
And Christian, good Lord, and Christian. Looks like he fell off on the list. That's why I don't see him here. And Christian Velez, of course, up in Connecticut. This has been the 2-0 podcast, a weekly podcast devoted to Mexican American, European, South American, African, Asian football. We discuss it all. My name is John Jagu. Thank you guys very much for joining us. We'll either be on probably next Thursday, about the same time, 9 p.m. Central. You guys have a wonderful night, and thanks for joining us. And, of course, you can listen to us on YouTube and also on iTunes. And hit us up on our Twitter pages as well. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.